Now we've done a little bit of SQL programming with the select statement, which is the core of all SQL programming. So I want to revisit the tools. First of all, we've got XAMPP here, which is doing our SQL server, my SQL server and my web or my Apache server work here. Okay, and so that's on my local drive, no internet access required. If you don't have that, XAMPP is a pretty straightforward install. Next, I'm using my SQL Workbench here, and I will connect to that SQL server that is being launched there. And here you see the databases that are on that server. I can create new databases and everything here. The Apache server allows me to use phpMyAdmin. Again, I'm seeing the same databases here connected to localhost phpMyAdmin. And we're going to use all of these tools, but we need to get some data. Remember how I had mentioned that you can look at the models here. So let's get one that's available. And the place we can go here is the MySQL official site here, mysql.com or devmysql.com. And we're going to go to this download site. And what we're going to do is we're going to download this Sequila database right here. We'll download the zip file. Once we've downloaded the zip file, this compressed file, we'll extract all the files and get this folder here, the Sequila database folder. I look at that folder and I go in again to the folder that's been extracted, and I've got the Sequila here, which is a MySQL Workbench file. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into MySQL Workbench and open up that model. Here is the MySQL Workbench file that gives you a database layout. It looks like there's customer data, inventory, business, and views. Okay, so that is the layout of the database. It's nice that we can get a visual representation of what links where. Now we're going to get the actual database. Here we have two files, a schema SQL and a data SQL. So the first thing is the schema SQL will actually build the database. So let's look at that file. I'm going to open up the schema file here in NetBeans. What you will see here are just SQL statements. This actually creates the table. It'll actually create the database and all of the tables in there. There's no insert or any of the insertion of data. You could actually read this file and find out how it is that it's going to create the database. But let's do that automatically here in phpMyAdmin. So we're here in phpMyAdmin. We're going to import into the current server. The reason I point that out is because we're not importing into a database. We're importing into the current server a database. The other thing that's important is this max file size here. And I'm going to show you how to change that. Mine is set to 4 megabytes. What you want to do is you want to go into your XAMPP directory and the PHP subdirectory and go to the PHP ini file. That'll open up in Notepad here. I'll search for max file size. Here you can see it says 4M, which is megabytes. Now I'm going to set it to 5. I'll save it. But now what I need to do is I need to stop my Apache server. I'm going to go ahead and stop my SQL server too. And then I'll restart them. Now both are restarted. Here it says the max size is 4 megabytes. If I refresh, import, you see now it's up to 5 megabytes. This is important because the data file for the database is bigger than the normal default, which is 2 megabytes. So you need to make sure that you have enough space there. So again, I'm importing into the server a database. I'll point that out why that's important later. I'm doing the schema. It says it's been successful. There were only 41 queries in building the database. And you see over here now among my databases is I have the Sequila database with all of these tables. Okay? But I have no data in them. So if I go to actor here, it just shows me the structure because there's no data in it. And that's what we want to do next. So here I am at PHPMyAdmin. I'm in the database, the Sequila database, and now I'm going to import. Here you want to say importing into the database Sequila. If it says importing into the server, you're not going to do what it is you want. So now I'm going to choose a file. Here is the data. And you can see it's 3 megabytes. So, or more than 3 megabytes. So you want to make sure that you have enough space for that. That took a little while, but you can see that 57 queries were executed. And if I go into any of these data tables now, we'll actually see that there's data in them. Here I can see, for example, that I'm showing the top 30 out of a total of 200. So this has quite a bit of data in it in this actor info table. Now let's go over to my SQL Workbench here. Here we are now back at my SQL Workbench. And we can see that we have this new database here, Sequila. So let's see if we can get the same number from here. First of all, we're going to say use Sequila. Now I'm going to say describe actor info. And it tells me what we've got here. First name, last name, and the film info. Now, when I look at my tables over here, I don't see actor info. Where is that? Well, if I go over to my EER diagram, what you see is that it is right here under the views. Under the views, where do I see that? Well, let me go here into this table. Oh, look at, there's this views here. And there we see actor info. Views are very similar to tables, and we'll talk about those later. But let's do a query on this database. So first of all, I'm going to say let's use the Sequila database, so all my queries default to that. And then I'm going to say count the actor IDs from actor info. And here I get that there's 200. And so I introduced a new keyword here, count, from actor info. Now I'm also going to import from this other database here, this world database. There is a difference between MyISAM and InnoDB. We're just going to stick with the InnoDB. If you can figure out how to import that on your own, then you've understood this video. And then once we get that data, we could start doing some information checking here. And here we go. Here we're now looking at that data file. And here we've got insert into film category these values, insert into payment these values. So we're just doing a bunch of insert statements. Once you got all of your data in this tables, we'll just start doing some queries and start doing some investigative work on that.